Alright, the Christopher Foster once again. And this is a request this time for Edgy Sam 327. The name of this video is 10 Old Movies Too Disturbing for Mainstream Audiences. Alright, check it out. Hey.
For as long as Hollywood has been around, filmmakers have endeavored to make dreams come to life.
Spider-Man.
As far back as a century ago in film's infancy, attempts at grand spectacles were already being made, and Hollywood has never stopped trying to
Damn,
improve
the only
its
thing that'll
capacity
get me
worldwide.
age restricted.
But it was also discovered early on that going straight for the fear center was just as effective, and often cheaper, than giving the audience visions of the fantastic. So today, we're going over 10 early films that are every bit as unsettling today as they were decades ago, some that were even deemed too disturbing for mainstream audiences.
Let's see how it'll disturb me.
Freaks, 1932. Todd Browning was already a veteran film director by the time he scored an enormous success with 1931's Dracula, the Bela
Love
Lugosi
that
starring
movie,
classic
Dracula,
that
hell
helped
yeah.
to define the horror genre. Due to that film's groundbreaking success, Browning was given pretty much free rein to create a unique vision for his next project. He did not fail in that respect. His 1932 film Freaks has been described as inhabiting a genre all its own, one that no other filmmaker has dared to touch. It's the story of circus sideshow performers, a trapeze artist and a strongman, who conspired
Is it like
to
that
kill one of
sideshow
their
movie
fellow
that they
performers
reviewed
for
not
his
too long ago?
inheritance. But the cast was populated with actual freaks.
Oh,
Circus
they're
performers
real?
recruited by the producers, including conjoined twins, a limbless man known as the Human Torso, and others with the types of deformations that audiences had simply never seen.
And they made a
Cast
movie
audiences
about
were
this
treated to
shit?
a
That's
horrifying
fucked up.
ending,
What
in
the
which
hell?
The scheming pair are attacked by the freaks during a rainstorm, with the strongman castrated and the trapeze artist mutilated beyond recognition. Most of this ending has been lost, as these test audiences were appalled, and one woman even threatened a lawsuit against production company MGM.
And this is a real movie.
Caused her to have a
Creepy,
miscarriage.
creepy.
Despite being given a new ending and undergoing other extensive cuts, the film was still considered extremely controversial upon its release. It effectively ended Todd Browning's career and was completely banned in the UK for 30 years.
Damn. Number 9.
The Brain That Wouldn't Die, 1959. Shot in 1959, The Brain That Wouldn't Die.
Why does it look like Reanimator?
theatrical release for 3 years.
It looks just like that's from Frankenhooker, the brain with the eyeball.
American International Pictures, never a studio to shy away from schlock, released the film.
I watched the movie recently. I'm thinking about reviewing it soon.
To shock audiences who got a look at what might be considered the first gore.
Frankenhooker.
A mad transplant scientist accidentally decapitates his fiancée, but manages to keep her head alive in his lab with mad transplant science.
That is creepy.
While he searches for a new body for her, she develops a telepathic connection with a hulking monster.
You can
that
tell
lurks
that's a
behind
human,
locked door in
though.
the lab. The monster gets free, but the chaos that ensued was not exactly what 1960s audiences were used to seeing. Its first victim had his arm ripped right the hell off.
Okay,
The
that's
stump
terrifying.
leaving a bloody smear on the wall as he collapses. The second, the mad scientist himself, has a giant chunk bitten out of his neck and spat on the floor as the lab
Oh my
burns
god.
down, killing everyone in it.
That's
This type
brutal.
of shocking violence,
God
even at
damn.
the end of what had been a reasonably conventional sci-fi movie, disturbed audiences and contributed to the film's reputation as
I can see
being
this
ahead of its
this
time.
one fucking up people,
No
especially
pun intended.
kids.
La Barbe, 1906.
Okay.
Segundo Duchamp has been called the Spanish George Méliès and the most significant Spanish filmmaker of the silent era. Like Méliès, he was a pioneer in camera tricks and editing techniques, and employed both early and often to sometimes disturbing effect. In one of his most famous short films, La Barbe, also known as The Funny Shave, a man is jovially preparing to shave when he decides to take a taste of his shaving cream.
Oh.
This apparently leads to some odd hallucinations, as he sees a series of grotesque caricatures before him in the mirror, each one freakier than the last. While the film's subject doesn't appear to be
Dr.
particularly alarmed,
Finkelstedt?
it's safe to say that this is not anything we'd ever want to see in our bathroom mirror in the morning.
That's more
It
funny
takes our
than
hero
disturbing.
nearly
Okay, that's
2 full
fucking
minutes to
creepy.
snap
Never
out of
mind.
his shaving cream-induced stupor and react in the appropriate
Wish I
manner.
had my gun on me. I don't know where that thing went. Number
The
7.
Man Who Laughs, The 1928 film The Man Who Laughs was an American production with a German director, famous for working in that
Damn, I gotta
country's
check some of these out. These look
typical
interesting so far.
It's a romance and a melodrama, not at all a horror film, but its main character, Gwaine Plain, although he's supposed to be sympathetic, is simply impossible to look at without hearing that small creaking sound in that part of your brain where nightmares come from. The character is disfigured as a child, with a horrifying permanent grin, making him sympathetic in the way that the Hunchback of Notre Dame or the Phantom of the Opera is supposed to be. He works as a circus freak, of course, and pines for the love of a blind girl before receiving
So the
a
Joker,
big
basically.
and happily sailing away to England.
He's basically the early version of the
No
Joker.
terrifying turns of plot, no real horror elements to the story at all, but just to look at Gwaine Plain. Look at him. Obviously, it's an extremely
That would be a
unsettling
great
character.
actor to play a
It should
Joker,
come
for
as no
sure.
surprise that the hero of this little remembered 1920s melodrama is the obvious inspiration for one of the most towering villains in all of pop culture.
Joker.
L'Inferno, 1911. The long and storied history of Italian cinema begins with the 1911 film L'Inferno, the very first Italian feature film ever made. The film raked it in at home and overseas, grossing $2 million in 1911 money in the United States alone,
Wow.
despite, or maybe because of, the fact that it is really freaking disturbing. Even today, the film's old-timey qualities tend to enhance the creepy factor rather than diminishing it. It's based on Dante's Inferno, and its depictions of hell, with suicides hanging from trees and demons torturing hopeless souls, were freaky enough to be reused several times in films as late as 1954. In fact, censors required that the 33-year-old footage be removed from the 1944 film Go Down Deaf because, among other reasons, of a scene in which a woman's naked breast is briefly seen, which must also be a cinematic first. L'Inferno showed very early on that people would pay good money to have the shit scared out of them, and filmmakers around the world took note.
That one doesn't look that bad. Don't look that disturbing or anything, but...
Right next pros ceramic.
Number 5.
Maniac. Maniac
Oh.
was directed by Dwayne
I've heard of the one with Elijah Wood and
He
the...
was a smart businessman who knew how to exploit the public's taste for the strange. Esper worked outside the traditional Hollywood system, taking his pictures on the road.
That ain't the right Maniac I remember. The Maniac I remember, he scouts people and then puts them on
That was
mannequins.
forbidden by the Hays Code.
This ain't the same thing, is
Films.
it? This ain't an original
To the
film of that movie,
aforementioned
is it?
freaks, and was also responsible for a lot of exploitation, directly titles
Nah, it's
like
not that kind of
Mary
movie.
Luana, Read with Roots in Hell. Produced in 1934, it tells the story of a vaudeville actor and a sex pervert who murders his doctor and assumes his identity, but the whole film plays as if it were put together by an actual lunatic. True to its
Wow.
subject matter, it features startling amounts of partial and actual nudity for a film
Whoa.
its age, and features one notoriously gruesome scene where a live cat has its eyeball popped out, which is thought
No,
to be a
not
very
the
good
not the
special
cat.
effect, or the clever use of a cat with a
Fuck.
false eye. The film serves up.
I'm not gonna
points
watch that
and
movie
and
then.
purports to be some kind of cautionary tale, as if it weren't giving its audience exactly what they came
Not
to
the
see.
cat, not the pussy. Leave the pussy alone. It's nice. Be nice to it.
Haxon, 1922. The 1922 Danish film Haxon, subtitled Witchcraft Through the Ages, is a visual masterwork for its time. Presented as a documentary, it puts forth the idea that the Salem witches were suffering from mental illness, but this is neither here nor there. When the film segues away
What the
from its
fuck?
informational portions and into its vignettes, that's when the unadulterated horror takes over.
Like a
Director
ghost?
Benjamin Christensen portrays a truly terrifying Satan who lures women from their beds in the middle of the night. There are also depictions of torture, grave robbing, and full-on nudity, though more of the artistic than gratuitous
Surprised some of these have nudity and
type.
I'm
It was
regretting
all
how
enough
old
to
they
earn
are.
the film a ban in the United States, although it was highly acclaimed.
Sorry you
in
guys had to
Denmark
witness
and
that noise.
Sweden,
I was just
and was the
coughing up
most
some...
expensive Scandinavian production of that time. Some of its more disturbing footage would be recycled later for low-budget exploitation projects, such as the aforementioned Maniac.
Wow. Number 3.
Meshes of the Afternoon. While she is not exactly a household name, the experimental films of Maya Deren influenced a legion of Hollywood filmmakers. She boldly embraced any and all techniques that would serve her vision, and her films are notable for pioneering techniques like jump cuts, superimposition, multiple exposures, and slow motion.
I'm also goddamn
Perhaps
itchy.
her best-known short film, 1943's Meshes of the Afternoon, is a masterpiece of ominous mood and circular narrative whose influence on film in general is plain. Our heroine, Deren herself, is having a very weird day. Events seem to keep repeating themselves, and things in her home keep moving around. And then there's the matter of the black-cloaked man with a mirror for a face. The short's unprecedented
that's
use
weird.
of bizarre camera angles and its droning, percussive, and unnerving soundtrack add to the entire hallucinatory experience. Deren's intent was to create a visual representation of devastating psychological issues, and it's safe to say that she succeeded. While few are familiar with this piece, film scholars acknowledge its impact. The BBC cited it as the 40th greatest American film of any kind ever made.
Number 2.
Eyes Without a Face, 1960. Among horror fans, the 1960 French-Italian film Eyes Without a Face is legendary.
I never heard of
Released
it.
the same year as Alfred
Never heard of
Hitchcock's
any of
Psycho,
these.
Eyes Without a Face barely passed European censors due to its subject matter and received an edited release in the United States.
Why?
It's the story of a mad doctor who is obsessed with finding his disfigured daughter a new face, even if the donors are less than willing. This 1960 film literally shows, with unflinching detail, the surgical removal of a young woman's face.
Really?
And that's not even the creepiest part. The daughter is forced to
Oh,
wear a
hell
mask to
no.
hide her disfigurement, and it's
No.
brutal Michael Myers'
That's
blackness
Megan's
is
mama.
absolutely transfixing, and not in a good or comfortable way. Of course,
I was like
when
Megan's
we
mother.
actually do get a
Hell
look at her
no.
under the mask, it is not any better at all. Despite a lukewarm reception upon release, the film has come
What
to
the
be
fuck?
considered a masterpiece, and its
Oh,
influence on
fuck
other
that
filmmakers
shit.
has been
Hell the fuck
substantial.
no.
John Carpenter has acknowledged that Michael Myers' look was inspired by the film. John Woo
I can see that.
copied the face
Michael
transplant
Myers,
sequence
the
for his
expressionless
film,
face.
Face Off. And yes, Billy Idol also cited it as the inspiration for his hit song of the same name.
Oh my god. I can see that one being too much for people. That's crazy.
Un Chien Andalou, 1929. Un Chien Andalou was produced by the Spanish filmmaker Luis Buñuel and famed artist Salvador Dali.
What a weird mustache
As
you
one
have,
might
sir.
expect from any work in which Dali is involved, it does
Okay,
not
that's not
make
funny.
a hell of a lot of sense. There is no actual plot. Title cards jump from
Then
8
how
years
is it a
later
movie if there's no
to
plot?
around 3 in the morning to 16 years ago, with nothing.
The
seeming
Mom and
to
Gore
change
movies
very
had no
much.
plot and they fucking
The film is
sucked.
punctuated
How does
throughout
this have
with
any
odd and
excuse?
disturbing imagery, such as a
Ugh.
shot of a woman prodding at a severed hand with a cane.
Holy
But it's the
shit.
film's opening sequence that earns its place among the most disturbing things one could ever hope to see.
That sounds
A man
fucked up.
idly fiddles with a razor, contemplating the moon. Suddenly, there's a woman sitting in a chair. She stares ahead dispassionately, not
Oh
even
my god,
flinching
thank
as
god
the
they
man
show
slices
that.
open her eyeball, and the camera lingers as its insides spill out.
Ugh.
There were many theories as
Please-
to how
yeah,
this
please don't
effect
show
was
that.
achieved, but Manuel eventually disclosed that they used a dead cow, shaving its skin down to make it appear as human as possible. Notes
I
between
don't
the
like
director
that.
and
I'm not
Dali
gonna watch
revealed
that movie.
the
There's a
film
fucking
contains
cat being
no idea
killed.
or image that might lend
Let
itself
alone
to
a real
rational
one.
explanation of any kind.
Fuck that
And
movie.
Nothing in the film symbolizes anything.
Yeah, sorry. I'm not watching the two that involves a goddamn cat being killed. I understand why people put animals being killed in movies. It's fucking disgusting. But other than that, those do look interesting. I'm definitely not watching number one because it involves a dead cat. Number two looked interesting enough, I guess. I don't know. Freaks doesn't look like my thing. The one where the guy sees that thing in the mirror looks really stupid. I don't know. I'm not the biggest fan of black and white movies anyway. I mean, they're okay, but they're not scary or creepy, but that's just me. So with that said, guys, thanks for watching. Take care. See you guys in the next one. Peace.